You have mistaken cowardice for character, and the people above you have counted on that confusion. You think ruthlessness is dysfunction, a defect found in people without emotional depth. That belief is why you are controllable. It makes you easy to pass over, easy to underpay, easy to forget when rooms are filled with people who matter. You were programmed to believe softness wins eventually, that the aggressive ones collapse, that if you just stay decent long enough, someone will finally recognize you. You are still waiting for that recognition, and you will die waiting, because the institutions that sold you that story are the same institutions that require your obedience to function. This is not about growth. This is about exposing why you were given permission to remain weak. You are not kind because of your values. You are kind because it is cheaper than being challenged. Being warm costs you nothing. It does not require you to hold a boundary. It does not require you to enforce a consequence. It does not require you to stand in a room and say something that might make people uncomfortable. Kindness for you is not generosity. It is a subsidy you pay to avoid confrontation. You offer agreeableness. In return, you receive the illusion of belonging. You nod when you disagree. You laugh when nothing is funny. You validate people you do not respect because their approval feels safer than their judgment. This is not morality. This is a transaction you refuse to admit you are making. And here is what you are actually purchasing. Tolerance, not respect, not influence, not authority. Tolerance. The same thing extended to furniture, to background noise, to things that exist without mattering. You made yourself easy to have around. And that is exactly why you are never consulted when stakes are real. You believe hierarchies are cultural relics, power structures outdated, domination, a relic of broken systems. You did not arrive at this belief through analysis. You arrived at it because it meant you could stop competing. Every room you have ever entered has already sorted you within seconds, before you spoke, before you smiled, before you tried to seem competent. The ranking was already made, and you landed where you always land, somewhere forgettable. You call it staying out of politics. You call it not playing games. You call it just focusing on the work. But you have felt the ranking. You have felt your opinion get skipped. You have watched someone younger, less experienced, less qualified, receive what you were waiting for. And you explained it away. You said it was favoritism, bad culture, a broken process. You never once said the truth. The truth is they did not see you as someone who would fight for anything. And people do not give power to those who will not defend it. They gave it to someone who made them nervous, someone who created the quiet pressure of, if we do not take care of this person, they will leave. You never created that pressure because you were too afraid they would let you leave. Here is the test. Think of the last time someone crossed a line with you, disrespected your time, took credit for your work, dismissed your input in front of others. Now think about what you did next. You did nothing. Or you did something so delayed and diluted that it carried no cost for the person who crossed you. You told yourself you were picking your battles. You told yourself it was not worth the energy. You told yourself you would address it later. You never addressed it, and they noticed. Everyone noticed, not consciously, but the room always learns who can be crossed without consequence. The room always learns who absorbs disrespect and calls it maturity, and the room adjusts accordingly. You are now someone who does not need to be considered, not because you are disliked, because you are safe to ignore. That is the position you built through years of choosing comfort over confrontation. That is not patience. That is a public record of submission. Ruthlessness is not aggression. It is not volume. It is not cruelty performed for dominance. Ruthlessness is the ability to remain unmoved when pressure is applied, to hold your position when guilt is used against you. to remove someone from your life without requiring their understanding, to pursue what you want without apology, without disclaimer, without softening it for people who want you to shrink. You cannot do this. Not because you are ethical, because you are addicted to being perceived as safe. You would rather lose an opportunity than be called aggressive. You would rather be underpaid than negotiate and risk tension. You would rather let someone else take credit than create a confrontation that might make you look difficult. You have structured your entire existence around one goal: avoid being negatively evaluated. That is it. That is the engine. Everything else, your so-called values, your so-called patience, your so-called principles, is just language you wrap around that single fear. And the consequence is a life where you only act when there is no resistance, where you only speak when agreement is guaranteed, where you only take what has already been offered. That is not a strategy. That is captivity you enforce on yourself. You say you value peace. What you mean is you are afraid of tension. You say you value authenticity. What you mean is you only show the parts of yourself that cannot be attacked. You say you are above status games, but you monitor every signal. You notice when someone is treated better. You notice when you are left off the email. You notice when your name is not mentioned. You care more than anyone in the room. You just lack the willingness to compete for what you want. So you pretend you do not want it. You built an identity around refusal. I do not need to prove myself. I am not interested in power. I would rather be respected than feared. These are not philosophies. These are retreats disguised as choices. Each statement is designed to preemptively explain why you will not try, why you will not push, why you will stay exactly where you are and call it integrity. You are not above the game. You are afraid of losing it publicly. So you declared yourself a non-player. And the people who are willing to be judged moved past you. That already happened. You are already behind. You were told the ruthless ones are damaged, that something broke inside them, and that is why they push. That is why you can justify staying soft. Because hardness in your mind is a wound. But the people who pass you are not more broken. They are more honest. They stopped pretending the world gives things to those who wait. They stopped believing fairness is a system that self-corrects. They stopped expecting to be handed what they are unwilling to take. You still believe the lie that says your turn is coming. The lie that says patience is a strategy instead of a stall. The lie that says you do not need to be ruthless because ruthlessness is beneath you. You believe it because the alternative would require you to change, not your tactics, your entire self-concept. The person you have decided you are, calm, fair, above the pettiness, that identity was not built from truth. It was built to excuse your fear of confrontation. It was built so you could lose and still feel like you chose it. It was built so you could remain frozen and call it wisdom. And you will keep protecting that identity, because destroying it would mean admitting what you have really been doing all these years. Hiding. You think the damage is future, that the cost of softness will arrive one day, later, when you are older. It has already arrived. It arrived when you were overlooked for a role you should have had. It arrived when someone took credit and you let them. It arrived when you felt the ranking in a room and stayed silent, because speaking up would have meant exposure. The damage is not coming. The damage is compounding. Every month you stay passive, your position erodes further. Your reputation as someone who does not push is solidifying. People have already made their internal notes about you. They know what you will tolerate. They know what they can take from you. They know you are not a threat. You cannot undo that with a single moment of assertion. You cannot reverse years of positioning with one decision to finally fight. The category you placed yourself in, safe, compliant, ignorable, that is now how you are stored in every mind that matters. You are not building toward something, you are decaying in place. And every day you tell yourself you will change later is a day you fall further behind people who already made the trade. You are still negotiating. You will finish this and feel something. A pressure you will not name, a recognition you will not say out loud. And within minutes, it will begin to fade. You will distract yourself. You will open another tab. You will find something that lets you feel without requiring you to do. Because that is what you are. Someone who processes discomfort as content. Someone who absorbs confrontation and calls it reflection. Someone who mistakes the experience of hearing the truth for the act of living it. You will not change after this. You will add this to the list of things you watched that almost moved you, and you will return to the same patterns, the same silence, the same waiting. You will hope the world eventually notices you did not fight, that someone will reward you for your restraint. That softness will become valuable once the ruthless ones are gone. They will not be gone, and you will not be rewarded. You will be where you are now, older, still explaining why you did not take what you wanted, still believing the story that it was your choice not to compete. It was not your choice, it was your fear, and you chose to call it something else so you could keep living with it. You are already being crushed. You just have not looked down yet.